Herkese iyi akşamlar. Ben Nil, ETA UK Türkiye'den. Bugün bizim İngiltere'deki en modern ve genç üniversitelerimizden Oxford Brookes Üniversitesi ile beraber olacağız. Üniversiteden temsilcimiz Lucy Henry bizimle beraber olacak. Şimdi bugün hem üniversiteyle ilgili hem de üniversitenin bulunduğu şehir Oxford'la ilgili detaylı bilgileri veriyor olacak kendisi. Ve en sonunda da soru cevap şeklinde chat kısmına istediğiniz soruları bizimle paylaşabilirsiniz. Lucy cevaplamaktan mutluluk duyacaktır. Hello Lucy.
Hello everyone.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, had a good Christmas and New Year period, so that was
Thank
nice.
you too. Okay, so you can start.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you'll be able to see some slides. Yeah, there we go. So thank you very much for that introduction. As Neil said, I'm Lucy Hendry from Oxford Brookes University, and my role is to help students who are applying to the university from Turkey and from some other countries across Europe as well. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about Oxford Brookes University. It's a bit of an overview about who we are and what you can study. So hopefully that will give you a little bit of interest in the university. And then if you have any questions that are more specific, please do feel free to contact me or to ask your questions at the end of the presentation as well. So first of all, our location. So where are we based? We are located in Oxford, which is a very beautiful and historic city in the UK. Maybe some of you have already visited Oxford, maybe you've been there already. Feel free to type that into the chat box if you have already been to the UK or been to Oxford. But it's a really wonderful place to live and to study. It's very much a student city, so we have two universities in the same city. Oxford University is the very old and historic university in the city, and Oxford Brookes University is the very modern and new university in the city. Now, we both live in the city very peacefully together, and we work together in some aspects, but we are different universities. So Oxford Brookes University is much more of a career-focused university, focused on helping you with kind of practical elements of your course and getting you the career that you want to afterwards by giving you lots of practical experiences as well. So because we have two universities in the same city, it's a very young city too. So 1 in 4 adults there are students, which means there's always something to do in the city. There's always activities you can take part in outside of your studies as well. But also another benefit to being in the same city as Oxford University is that Oxford Brookes students can still access some of those Oxford University facilities. Now that includes the famous world famous Bodleian Library, which is Oxford University Library. They have access to every published book in the UK and even some globally as well. So it's a very good resource to be able to use. And also you can join the Oxford Union, which is a debating society. And they get very top names within different industries who come and speak and do lectures and different series that you can attend as well as an Oxford Brookes student. So that is something that is very exclusively open to Oxford Brookes and to Oxford University students. The other benefit is we're only an hour away from London. So if you do want to go and visit the capital city and have an explore, which I would definitely recommend during your studies, it's very easy for you to get there. You can get a train or you can get a bus, and the buses actually go all through the day and all through the night. So it's very easy for you to get back safely, even if you want to stay out a bit later in the middle of the night. The same also applies for getting to and from Heathrow Airport and also Gatwick Airport. Those are the two main airports that lots of students will fly into. They're very easy to connect to Oxford, and you can get a bus directly from those ones as well. So very, very good location. I would definitely recommend having a look at some pictures of Oxford online and seeing some things that you can do. So why Oxford Brookes specifically? Well, there's a number of reasons that you can consider. Obviously, one of those we've talked about, which is the location, but also our reputation as a university is a really good reason to want to study with us. So we are actually among the world's top universities in 13 different subject areas. So that includes things like engineering, architecture, business, hospitality, and a lot of other subjects as well. We're also the top modern university in the UK. By modern university, we mean that we are a university that is less than 50 years old. So that's when I mentioned that we were a young university. So we do have a very good reputation in our own right. And we also have a great reputation when it comes to teaching as a young university and to employment after you finish your studies. So our students, 95% of them go into further employment or further study within the first 6 months of graduating from us as well. So that's something that's really important to us, is to help you to find career opportunities when you leave. Now, we are quite international. As a university, 18% of our students are international students from outside of the UK, and they come from around 140 different countries. So you won't by any means be the only student who's coming from outside of the UK. You'll be able to make friends with students from across the world. But also as a city, Oxford is very international as well. And it's very welcoming to international students. So around a third of everyone living in the city was born outside of the UK. That includes people who are not just studying, but also working in Oxford as well. So it's a very good place to be able to get a real mixture of cultures and experiences. So I already mentioned a few of the key reasons. Here's a few more reasons why you might choose to study at Oxford Brookes. So one of them, and this applies generally to just studying abroad in general, is the opportunity to experience a new country and a new culture. So being able to broaden your mindset, to experience something outside of what you have experienced already. There's lots of international support that you can get whilst you're studying at Oxford Brookes. So we have specific international student advice teams to help you with things from visas and immigration through to settling into a new culture and being able to make friends and feel included. But it's also a beautiful place to live and study. So you can see here these pictures. On the far right is a picture of punting. This is a very Oxford traditional activity to do, which involves being in a very long boat on a river and using a pole to kind of get along the river. That's something that is very famous in Oxford and also Cambridge. And then you can also see the covered market in the middle picture, which is a very quaint kind of shopping area. There's also big modern shopping areas as well in Oxford. So you get a bit of both worlds, the old and the new, which is really nice. And then here's a few more pictures just so that you can get a sense of what the city feels like. So you can see the Pitt Rivers and Natural History Museum, the Ashmolean Museum. So it's really great if you're interested in arts and culture. The river, so lots of places where you can eat and drink on the river as well. And punting, as I mentioned already. So those are just a few of the things that you can do in the city. So now on to the most important part. What can you actually study when you're with us at Oxford Brookes? We have a range of different options that you can take. So we actually have 4 main faculties at the university. So every department, every subject is divided into a faculty. And these faculties are the Business School, Health and Life Sciences, Humanities and Social Sciences, and Technology, Design and Environment. And within these different faculties, we have different schools where we separate and cluster together different subjects, which means that we really do have quite a wide range of options for you. So within our business school, we offer probably the most flexible types of courses. You can study things like business and management, but you can also take a combination with marketing or with hospitality or events or other different specialisms within finance. So there's lots of different ways that you can really adapt and tailor your course to suit your own interests. Most of those business courses also offer a work placement year, and I will talk a bit more about that later, but an opportunity for you to gain work experience whilst being paid during your time in the UK. The business school also includes our School of Hospitality Management, which is one of the top schools in the world as well. Within health and life sciences, so one thing to note is that we don't offer medicine courses. What we do offer is courses that are related to medical studies. So this would include biological and biomedical sciences. That can be a really good stepping stone, either if you want to work within the medical research field, or if you do want to take medicine in the future, that can be one way for you to step into a medicine degree at a later postgraduate stage, is by starting with an undergraduate biomedical or medical science degree. Most of those you can also take a work placement as well, so that you can gain experience in the industry. It might be within pharmaceuticals or something else related. We also have professional courses like physiotherapy, occupational therapy, nursing, midwifery, and also a range of different sports science courses within that school. Then moving on to humanities and social sciences. So there's quite a broad range that you can study here. Some of our most popular courses include criminology, sociology, but also things like philosophy, law, English language and literature, applied languages, so you can study different languages and translation, and lots of other areas like social sciences. So this also would include psychology as well. And then lastly, our School of Technology, Design and Environment. This is one of our most popular schools. It's some of the courses that we're known for the best. This includes our School of Architecture, which is very well known within the UK. We are the oldest school of architecture in the UK. We offer RIBA accredited courses as well. So that's a professional accreditation that you need if you would like to become an architect within the UK in particular. We also have arts courses such as fine art and photography, graphic design. Oxford Brookes did used to be a school of arts as well before we became a university, so we have a very strong background in the arts as well. And then things that are related to built environment as well, so things that are to do with real estate, quantity surveying, some of those a bit more specialised courses, and our engineering and computing courses as well. So we focus on engineering courses that are related to cars generally. So motorsport engineering is one we're really well known for. We actually have graduates in every Formula One team in the UK. So we have great work experience opportunities as well. We also offer mechanical courses, mechanical engineering, automotive engineering, and even automotive with electric vehicles. And within computing, you can take computer science or artificial intelligence, or also cybersecurity. So there are quite a number of different specialisms that you can take. And with the majority of our courses, we do integrate work experience either through a work experience module or a full year where you get to work in the industry. And as I mentioned, I will talk about that shortly. So just for a second to step away from the academic side of things, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the support that you can get and the other activities you can take part in while you're studying with us. So one of them is the Brookes Union. Most universities in the UK do have what's called a students' union. That is a big kind of organisation. It's run by students for students. So the idea is to help support students in their life at the university, to help them have a voice and to be represented, so that we know what students are feeling and the things that they would like to see changed. But it's also very much for social activities to get to know other friends and to try new experiences as well. So we have over 100 different clubs and societies. That includes a Harry Potter society, a tea society, sports, different sports clubs, dance groups, language-related societies, and all sorts more. So most of them are very social. Some of them will also enhance professional practice. So we do have some like the Entrepreneurship Society, where you'll have real opportunities for kind of brainstorming ideas and actually for working on your own business plans as part of that group. So some of them are purely social, some have a deeper meaning behind them as well, but all of them are great ways for you to expand your friendship circles and also for things that you can write on your CV when you graduate. And these are some of the sports clubs that you can join. So hopefully you can have, you can see the slide here and you can have a bit of an overview about what we offer. We are particularly well known for rowing. So we are the top rowing university in the UK, but we also offer other sports to varying different levels, some elite levels, some kind of mid-level competitive, and some that you can take on a purely social level. These would include the classics like football, cricket, rugby, but also some others that are a bit more specialist like water polo and a few others there. So you may be wondering where you're going to live while you're at the university. So we do have a range of different accommodation. We have around 10 different halls of residence that we'll offer to you. And usually in your first year, you can be guaranteed a place in one of our halls of residence as long as you apply to us within the deadlines for September entry students. Some of these will include an ensuite bathroom, so your own bathroom within your room. Some of them will have a shared bathroom, so there are different price levels depending on the type of facilities that you choose, and also depending on the location. So these are all located around the university and around the city. So the closest one might be 5-minute walk from the university campus, and the furthest might take you 30 or 40 minutes walking, and there's lots in between. All of them are well connected by public transport, so buses. We have our own Oxford Brookes buses, and you can get a free bus pass for travel on those ones. You can also cycle. Oxford is very much a cycling city, so lots of students get a bike while they're studying with us as well, or you can walk, and it's very easy to walk around in Oxford. It's quite small, so if you're from a bigger city like Istanbul, for example, you might find it quite a small place to be, but it's very easy to get around. And as I said, because it's a student city, despite it being small, there's always lots going on, lots of activities. So living in accommodation can also be a really good way to meet people. Generally, you will be sharing in a flat with potentially between 5 and 8 other students, and it's a really good way for you to start to make friends. So on to funding and work experience, which is a very important question to think about. So the first point I wanted to make is about the tuition fees in the UK. Now, tuition fees are different across different UK universities, and they also are different depending on the course that you study. So most universities will have a range of different fees. The lowest universities can be from kind of £10,000, £11,000, and the highest can charge around £40,000 or more per year. So there is quite a difference. Oxford Brookes sits on the lower end of that scale. So most of our courses at undergraduate level are between £15,000 and £17,000 per year, and at postgraduate level it's fairly similar. So for master's degrees, usually between £15,000, £16,000 and £18,000 per year. So it's on the lower end of the spectrum, and we do very often have opportunities such as scholarships, which we hope to have this year as well, of hopefully a £2,000 scholarship, and we're always reviewing the scholarships on offer as well. So we do have a web page where we keep that updated, and any new opportunities that come up, we'll be able to tell you about those in due course as well. Another way that you can think about earning some more money is through a work placement. That is a good way of earning money. It's also a great way to get work experience and to help your prospects of finding a career in the future. So when you take a work placement, you will be covered by the visa that you study on. So if you're studying on a student visa and you apply for a course which has an integrated work placement, you're covered for that work year as well as the other 3 years of your study. So for a 3-year course, if you're taking a bachelor degree, you might then extend your visa to 4 years, and within that you get to work for one of those years. So you don't need to apply for anything separately. That's all included as part of that package. We do have lots of placement providers. We don't ever guarantee a placement, so it still does require students to interview and apply for jobs, but we do have very specific placement teams who can help you out and give you lots of advice and guidance, help you with the interview process, help you with the application process, and all those kind of things as well. So it makes the process a bit easier for you to identify. And some of the employers that we have, they actually come to the university looking for students as well, because they know that our students are good students and they like to have them working there. So particularly with Formula One, this is a really good example. But we've had students who've worked in places like Apple, Microsoft, Formula One, so Ferrari, Four Seasons Hotel, and lots of others as well. So there's really quite a broad range. But also we do work with smaller companies as well. And it can be a really good opportunity to work with a small company rather than a big one, because often you get thrown in at the deep end and you get to learn lots of new skills that you might not learn in a bigger company. So there are benefits to both. You can also, and usually, you get paid for this time as well. So you'll be paid a full-time salary. It can be anything from £20,000 to £25,000 per year for the work that you're doing as well, which is a very, very decent salary to be paid for your first job. We also have mentoring schemes. With mentoring schemes, you will be connected up with an expert in that particular field that you're working in. So if you're interested in hospitality, you might be connected with somebody who works in the hospitality industry. And you usually will have connections with them online. So you can ask them questions, you can ask for their advice about how do you get into that industry, how do you become a successful person within that career. And some of them will also organise different events for you to network and meet other prospective employers and to get more experience that way. So that's a really good opportunity as well. So loads of benefits to doing a work placement, but particularly just for enhancing your CV and giving you more opportunity to be more employable when you do actually graduate. So if you want to find out more, you can have a look on our website. We do actually have a Turkey-specific country page where you can find more information about some key contacts in the region, different entry requirements and things like that are important. So we have here are entry requirements. I've put the undergraduate, but also the postgraduate here. So we do accept the Turkish high school diploma, and there's a range of grades that we would accept depending on what we're looking for, but generally from 70% upwards is where we begin. And then for postgraduate students, we're usually looking at a GPA of around 2.4 to 2.6, depending on your subject area. Now, some subjects will have subject-specific requirements. That might be that they're looking for a particular grade in a certain subject. So if you want to study a science course or an engineering course, usually we're looking for specific grades in things like maths, physics, biology, other areas like that. And some of them will have additional requirements such as a portfolio. So for architecture, this is particularly important. We would always ask for a portfolio of your artwork as well. And we do have guidance online about how to create a portfolio of what we're expecting. But that's also something that SI UK can help with. We've been working with them for a long time, and they're able to offer support and guidance about some of those things too. Usually when it comes to English, we can accept an academic IELTS, and again, it ranges from IELTS 6 to 7, depending on the course. But we will accept some other language tests as well, depending on what you've taken. So that could be, for example, if you're studying IB, we can accept your IB English grade. If you're studying A-levels, we can usually accept A-level qualifications depending on the subject, and GCSEs as well. So if you've taken any international qualifications, we might be able to accept those, and also tests like TOEFL and Pearson and Cambridge courses as well. So there's quite a range in what we can actually accept for English. If you're unsure, it's always best just to speak to your advisor, and they will be able to check it and let you know. So lastly, just coming to an end here, in terms of how you can see our campus, you can, of course, always visit in person. So if you're able to facilitate a visit to the UK, perhaps you're coming with your parents or with some friends for a little while, and you want to visit a few different campuses, feel very free to come and visit us. You can get in contact with us online, and we will arrange a visit for you. We offer campus tours on a few days a week as well, so you can choose the day when we're offering a campus tour and you get to see the campus, and we can also facilitate visits with somebody from the faculty too. If you can't make it to the UK, which is very understandable, you can access lots of online resources. So we have a virtual tour where you can actually have a proper look around all of our facilities. And we also have pre-recorded tours on YouTube where you can have a look at our different campuses. We do have different campuses depending on the course. So we have a specific engineering campus and a specific healthcare campus, but most of our other courses are taught on the main Headington campus. So hopefully that will help you identify which one is the best one for you to look at. And lastly, my contact details here. So I will just caveat this with the fact that I will be going on maternity leave at the end of this month, but there will be another contact person in place to support you as well once I'm not here. So there will always be somebody who you're able to contact, and that information will be made available on our website, and also colleagues in SI UK will know the best person to contact as well, so they'll be able to support you. But that's it. So thank you very much for listening. Hopefully that was useful as an introduction to the university, and I'll now be able to move on to any questions.
Yeah, from my point of view, it was very useful. Thank you so much, Lucy. Now I'm seeing that there are some questions being raised. Maybe I can read and you can answer. The first question is, how many students do you have in total, I guess? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, good question. So we have around 18,000 students in total. We do have a few different campuses, so not all of those students are on one campus, but yeah, in total around 18,000 students. It will vary, the numbers will vary depending on the course that you study. So you won't be in a class necessarily that has thousands of students in. If you're studying business, you might have some lectures where you have a couple of hundred students, but then you'll also have smaller seminar classes, which might have kind of 18 to 25 students, and you'll be able to have more of a discussion. So we have a range of discussion groups in small sessions and small classes, and then bigger ones as well. So yeah, you won't be in a massive group. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, it's great. So the second question is, seems long and it's good. I'm graduated from law at Ankara University and now planning to be a solicitor in UK. Please tell us about this process. I heard that students coming from Turkish bachelor degree are required to study conversion program plus master degree. Is it correct? Is conversation compulsory, but conversation program, I guess? Yeah, it sounds like technical, but I don't know if you have the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think there may be different routes to get to that point, and certainly somebody within the law school would be the best place to advise on that. But often, if you have studied law in another country, then the type of law that you will have studied will be different from UK law. So not everything will be transferable. So that does mean, as you've mentioned, often taking a conversion course is the best option. We do have a graduate diploma of law, which is our conversion program. So it's shorter than having to take a full 3-year degree. So it's usually around 1 year that you take that conversion program for, and that basically would then allow you to have that qualification that is specific to British law, to common law in the UK. And then as with any law student, you would then need to sit the bar examination, which is the professional qualification after that, or separate exams for when it comes to being a solicitor. There's usually a separate process for that as well.
Maybe like
different professional qualifications for, depending on which type of law you want to go into. There will be a different professional qualification to take after the academic part, but usually the academic part, in most cases, it's appropriate for you to take a graduate diploma of law or conversion program of that kind, but it is shorter than a normal law degree.
Okay. The third one is the psychology of this university based on clinical works, or does it focus on theoretical concepts as well too?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it depends really on whether you're talking about undergraduate or postgraduate study. When it comes to undergraduate bachelor degrees, for psychology, most university psychology courses will look fairly similar. That's because we have to, in order to be accredited by the British Psychological Society, we have to cover everything. So we have to cover a range of different areas. So that includes clinical, but also different kind of theoretical areas, developmental psychology, behavioral, cognitive, and quite a social psychology, the whole range that you would need to have a well-rounded knowledge of psychology. So that's something that you will find in most UK universities with that accreditation, is that you'll cover a bit of everything. When it comes to postgraduate studies, so we offer a master's degree. Our master's degree it's more of a conversion course, actually. So again, if you wanted to become a psychologist in the UK, it may be appropriate for you to take a conversion course first to give you that BPS accreditation. and then you would need to go on to further study after that. So it is quite a lengthy process
Like
in the UK.
PhD, clinical psychology.
Yeah, exactly. So normally in the UK, you take your bachelor degree, you might then take a master's degree. You would usually then need to get some work experience as an assistant psychologist or something similar, and then you can apply for your PhD is more of a clinical doctorate, which is a professional training doctorate, which will be another 3 years. So it can take quite a long time because you do need to also get work experience. But the first step in that, if you haven't already got a British psychology degree, can be often to take that conversion course, which is a 1-year course as well. So our course is, because it's conversion, it will also cover elements of clinical, but also some of the other core methodologies for psychology, because it's aimed for students who need that British Psychological Society accreditation. If you want to specialise then in clinical psychology, normally you would need to go on and do a separate master's that is a specialist master's and then a PhD or training clinical doctorate at that point. So it's not specifically a clinical course that we offer.
Okay. Relevant to that, I personally studied psychology conversion, after my bachelor degree from media communication and public relations. So conversion psychology programs is open to everyone from different backgrounds, right?
Yeah,
Whereas I
exactly.
know the students coming from psychology bachelor degree background, they don't need to study conversion.
Yeah,
Okay.
so normally if you've studied a completely different subject and then you want to study psychology in the UK and then go on and work in the UK, you would take a conversion course for psychology. If you've already studied psychology and you want to come and study a master's in the UK for deeper specialization and then go back to your home country, a conversion course won't be appropriate for you because some of that content will be replicated. It will be the same as what you've already studied. However, if you do want to study in the UK and then work in the UK, you may still need to take a conversion course, even if you've already taken psychology in another country at bachelor degree level. It depends on the opportunities, the master's opportunities that there are, but you often will need that foundational level of psychology that is specifically accredited in order to be able to work within the relevant field in the UK. So that's usually the reason why students might study our psychology program, even if they've already studied it somewhere else. Usually it's because they would like to continue working in the UK as a psychologist and they need the accreditation. That's the main reason.
Okay. So how about your cooperation with NHS, National Health Service? So, students in your school can work at NHS, or is it really easy to get a place in this?
Yeah, so it depends again on the course. So if we're talking about getting a work placement with NHS during your studies, normally for a lot of our healthcare courses, our professional healthcare courses, we have a very set number of places for students. That is specifically because we need to be able to offer every student a work placement during that time. So physiotherapy is a really good one. It's a good example of that one. We only have a very small number of places because one of the things that's really important for a physiotherapy degree is to have those clinical hours in practice, which usually is linked to the NHS as well, which is the National Health Service. So normally we only offer the number of places that we know we can get placements for. In terms of working after you have qualified, again, usually because you will have taken a degree in the UK which is connected to the NHS, if you're working within healthcare, then usually you would have all the same opportunities to apply for work in the NHS afterwards. So you would be suitably qualified at that point.
Okay. The fourth question is, do you have any cooperation with Oxford University?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we are a separate university from Oxford University, and we are a completely different university, but we do have the connections that I mentioned before, so the shared access to the Bodleian Library, which is the Oxford University famous library, and shared opportunities to join the Oxford Union, which is the Oxford University Debating Society. We do also have some researchers that work together across the universities in different faculties. So there is collaboration in that sense at a higher research level, which obviously then feeds down into our masters and our bachelor degrees in terms of shared knowledge that can be passed on. And there are sometimes some societies that will connect up with Oxford University as well, so that you have joint activities and joint connections there. So there are some cooperations. Although we are different universities, we do also work together as well.
Okay. The next question is there scholarships for students? What are the requirements and how much it costs?
Yeah, so what we are hoping to, we're just pending final confirmation, but we're hoping to offer a £2,000 scholarship for international students, which is off your first year of study. So that scholarship is depending on whether you're applying for a master's degree or if you're applying for a bachelor degree, will depend on the criteria and the deadlines. So normally if you're applying for a master's degree, you would need to have an offer from us and pay a deposit by our deadline in April, which is the 15th. If you're studying a bachelor degree, you normally have until the UCAS deadline, which I believe is the 8th of June this year. So there are different criteria depending on that. As I mentioned, in the future, we may have different regional scholarships, but that's not something that we currently have. But we do have, again, hoping to get the information confirmed on this very soon, but we should hopefully have some great scholarships for Turkey, which will be a couple of larger scholarships. I believe it's around £8,000 per student, and we will have details of the application process on our website very soon as well. So you should be able to have a look there. And that one does actually require an application. So the other one does not require an application. It just requires you to pay your deposit and to meet your to accept your offer. The Great Scholarship, because it's only a very small number that we have, does require an application, and we will provide information on the website very shortly as well. We do additionally hope to have a European scholarship. So if you are a student who has perhaps you have dual nationality, you may have an EU passport from another country like France or Italy, then you may qualify for our EU scholarship instead, which is a £4,000 discount per year. Again, we are pending final confirmation of that, but hopefully we'll have that in place. We would normally be able to offer you whichever scholarship is the best option for the criteria that you meet. So if you met the criteria for both scholarships, we'd offer you the one that was the highest value. We can't offer you the scholarship together at the same time. So normally you only qualify for one. But those are the main options that we do have at the moment. But it's always changing. So depending on when you're applying, we may have different options next year.
Okay. There's another question about PhD. Can you give details about entry requirements for PhD programs?
Yeah, so for PhD programs, what you need to do first is the application process is a little bit different from when you apply for a bachelor or master's degree. The first port of call is to have a look on our website, our research degree section, and make sure, try and look and see if we're offering research degree fields in the areas that you're interested in. You can look by faculty and you can have a look at the type of research that we're working on and the different research groups within that particular faculty. So that can be helpful in helping you to identify if we might be the right university for you and for your area of research. Then the second step would be to find the research tutor, so postgraduate research tutor who is relevant to that faculty. And I can also find that and post a link to that as well. Once you've found that research tutor, you can get in contact with them by email. What they would expect from you is for you to send a proposal about your research, so what you're proposing to research, and they will then be able to confirm if that is something they can support you with. If you follow all of those steps and the faculty is happy for you to submit an application, at that stage you then need to apply online, and that is an online application that you can find on our website. So what I'll do is I'll just pop into the chat this link for research in the faculties, which can be a good starting place. And that's where you can find some key contacts and also different research groups and things like that as well.
Okay. The next one, do you accept language cert CELT for master applications? And I think instead of IELTS or TOEFL, they're asking.
Yeah, we don't currently accept language cert. So we would, if you don't technically need a CELT, so in terms of UKVI IELTS, which is normally the equivalent of CELT, you only need that if you're applying for a course that is below degree level. So that is a pre-sessional English course or a 1-year foundation course. For all of the other courses, we can accept the non-CELT versions, so normal IELTS, for example, normal TOEFL. But unfortunately, the language cert specific qualification is not one we have approved at the moment. But we can accept quite a wide range of other qualifications.
Like Pearson.
Like Pearson and like some of the Cambridge
Duolingo and...
No, we can't accept Duolingo, unfortunately.
Okay. The next one, I'm from Afghanistan, but live in Konya for 2 years, Konya in Turkey, for 2 years with resident card. Can I apply?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's no restriction on nationality in terms of applying. The only thing that you need to bear in mind is normally when you apply for a visa, you're applying based on the nationality that's on your passport. So the visa requirements, when you look on the website, on the government website, to check what are the visa requirements for your country, normally you would need to look at the specific requirements for Afghanistan when it comes to applying, because that will be the nationality, the passport that you have. But in terms of applying to us, there's no restrictions in you being able to apply. So please do feel free to go ahead. It might just be that obviously if you've not taken qualifications completely in Turkey and you've taken some in Afghanistan, we'll need to see both of those qualifications as well. But we do accept qualifications from everywhere. So it just, yeah, the admissions team will be able to assess all of it together.
Okay. The next one is again about the scholarship. How can I get the United Kingdom government scholarship to study?
Okay, so I'm not sure what you're specifically referring to when it comes to the United Kingdom government scholarship. We do have, the government does offer student finance loans, but that is something that's open to UK students only. Unfortunately, that's not something that's available for international students. When it comes to other government scholarships, there are sometimes other scholarships linked to things like British Council. That's not part of the government, so that is a separate organisation. So there's not a lot of government scholarships on offer to international students. Normally, scholarships are determined by universities themselves, or there might be other organisations. And the Turkish government also offers some scholarships as well. So those scholarships that we could, we can accept students who are coming with the MEB scholarship, for example. But there's not lots of UK government scholarships available.
Okay. How about part-time programs? But actual Turkish students are not allowed to study part-time programs, right?
So this is the main issue. So if you are a student who needs to study on a visa, which unless you have a UK residence permit or exemption, then you will need to. You won't be able to study part-time in the UK because your visa has very specific requirements about how many hours you need to study to be able to maintain your visa. So unfortunately, that does mean in lots of cases, international students can't study part-time. There are sometimes online courses. So we do have some online or distance learning, we call them options for postgraduate, usually master's degrees. And those ones we can offer part-time because you're not physically coming to the UK, or you might need to come to the UK once or twice a year to complete some part of the course, but usually you're studying from a distance. So those ones are available to any international student. But for a general on-campus course in the UK, you will need to study full-time. Lots of students do still work on the side. So if that's something that you are thinking about or concerned about, you are allowed to work up to 20 hours per week during your studies. And lots of students do that. So they work in the evenings or at the weekends. You won't necessarily have classes every day as well. So you may have some classes on a Monday and Tuesday, then you might have nothing on Wednesday and then more on Thursday and Friday. So it does vary depending on your timetable, depending on your course, depending on the options of module that you choose. Usually you will have time to work a little bit during your studies, and that's a good way to keep up earning a bit of money along the side outside of term time. So in the holidays, for example, you can actually work up to full time. So there are opportunities, and your visa should allow you to stay during the holiday period as well in the summer.
Okay. I studied business and finished it with 55%. Worked in this sector 2 years. For 2 years. So can I study MBA?
Yeah, so I think what we need to do is we need to see your qualifications before answering that. So normally we just need to have a look at your qualifications and see whether it's relevant for a particular course. When it comes to MBA, usually what students mean when they say MBA is they're actually referring to a master's course, so MSc or MA in business. MBA tends to be a bit more specialized, usually executive level MBA as well, and that one's usually a distance learning course. So if you want to study a full-time master's in business, usually you're looking for an MSc or an MA course. But yeah, what we need to do, just make your application and include your documents, and we'll be able to make the assessment from there. But having work experience is always helpful. So it sounds like that would be a really good thing for you.
Okay. Is SAT exam accepted? Overall score 1,400.
Yes, so we can accept SAT exams as well. So yeah, if you've taken something maybe like the American high school diploma and then you've taken SATs, we can certainly consider that as well. So the score will depend on the course that you want to study, but it certainly is a qualification that we can accept.
Okay. Another question is a similar one that I asked. Is there any student loans for international, especially Azerbaijani students?
So for Azerbaijani students, there's not a student loan available, unfortunately. So again, it is just available for British students. That's the UK government loan. If you want to apply for a loan, there will be other organisations who might offer loans, but that's not something that we as a university are involved in or aware of. So if you're able to find other sources of funding, you may be able to find some opportunities online. But in terms of our scholarships for international students, that would also include students from Azerbaijan. So the £2,000 scholarship that I mentioned earlier would also apply to students from Azerbaijan.
Okay. Thank you so much. It seems the questions section is over. Thank you for this great presentation and these very useful answers. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you everyone for having me. Nice to speak to you.
Herkese çok teşekkür ederiz katılımınız için. Konuyla alakalı İngiltere'deki, Birleşik Krallık'taki üniversite ve Oxford Brookes'la alakalı sorularınız olursa bizimle her zaman iletişime geçebilirsiniz. Tekrar teşekkür ediyoruz. Herkese iyi akşamlar.